In the city, busloads of evacuees were now trying to make it to the embassy, but many of them were stuck in the chaos of Saigon.
There were probably 25, 30, 40 people out there in the streets, you know, and trying to get on that bus. And at that point, it was sheer panic. Kids were being pushed through the windows, you know. I mean, it was absolute mayhem. You know, I mean, they were paralyzed with fear, you know. They were willing to basically pass their own children to someone on the bus who could get the child out of the country.
Take it easy now, one at a time, no problem. Come on, Ted, let's move it.
Trapped in the middle of the city, Moorfield decided to call the embassy to ask where he should go.
One at a time.
He went into a nearby building, only to find hundreds more evacuees waiting to be picked up.
What I found was, you know, several hundred people waiting in the courtyard who had been told that we were going to evacuate them, that we would help them, and they were there waiting. And as I walked in, everyone, you know, who was all seated down, looked up at me, you know, somewhat expectantly, and then, you know, I had to walk through them. I think they became aware that I was not looking like I was there to help them. And indeed I wasn't, and I couldn't. So I made my phone call, and then I had to walk back through them on the way out. And I knew I was leaving them, and they knew I was leaving them. And that was the last I ever saw them. I'm sure they never got out. So I recall it was late afternoon, around 5:30, 6 o'clock, when I finally was able to slip into the embassy.
I mean, there's a point at which everything just falls apart. But that didn't change the ultimate fact that there were key locals, Vietnamese, to whom a commitment had been made and where we failed in the commitment. Had we moved earlier and started evacuating more of them sooner, we might have gotten more of them out.
Yeah, you know, whenever you have a tough situation like this, there are people, you know, who can't hack it. And this criticism, it's all too late, is a bunch of nonsense.
I don't feel vindictive about what happened in the last few hours. I mean, chaos is chaos, and there's not much you can do about it. But everything leading up to the chaos is where my anger still surfaces about it, and my feelings about it, because much more should have been done by then.
If we did anything that would create a panic, then we wouldn't have been able to do any of that. So I totally reject that criticism. I think even those who most of those who made it at the time don't make it anymore. If they still do, they're utterly mistaken. They understand nothing.
As night fell, the evacuation intensified. At its height, the helicopter was touching down every 10 minutes.
The helicopters would usually hold maybe 38 Marines, combat loaded. We were putting 60 or 70 Vietnamese in these helicopters. We were just packing them in as quickly as we could. We did that from like 3 in the afternoon till maybe 4 in the morning. All afternoon, all night long. And it was just a steady stream. There were a lot of panicky people, and we were trying to keep them calm, trying to assure them that, yes, there was a steady stream of helicopters coming. Eventually, you would get in line and eventually you would get out. You just had to be a little patient.
The Vietnamese who hadn't made it inside the gate watched from the outside.
We were hoping for a miracle, that they would open all the gate and a big chopper would come down and pick everyone up. It's kind of foolish. Anybody in a clear mind would see that right away. But at that time, like I tell you, we all live in panic, so we don't see that. We don't see clear. So we still had that hope because that's the only thing we have. So we wait for 6, 7 hours straight, right there, without moving an inch, until reality hit it.
Realizing he was never going to make it into the embassy, Long made his way home through the streets of Saigon.
So we make our way back to the car. The car was totally stripped. The wheel come off already, the window broken, the radio is gone, even the seat is gone. And then so we had to think about how to get there to our house. The plan is to survive the trip home. You see people looting everywhere, gunfire. You know, anybody with a gun can, rob you at any time they want to. Yeah, there's a lot of burning. There's a lot of smell burning through in the air. And it's dark. You don't see anything. So you're kind of guessing your way. You run this direction, that direction. So our concern is to survive that night.
After several hours, Long made it back to his family's house on the outskirts of the city.
We wait. We just wait there, and then slowly people come home and we're a bit happier. And finally, all our family make it home. At least, safe for one night. And we're very happy that we're all safe. Whoever can sleep, sleep, and whoever cannot sleep, just sit up and talk the whole night. And lucky for us, we still have some rice and some pumpkin and some peanut. Yeah. We're one of the lucky family. We still have food.
Ambassador Martin was trying to keep the evacuation going as long as possible to save the maximum number of Vietnamese. Washington wanted to end the evacuation as quickly as they could. Martin was told there would be only 19 more helicopters. He was ordered to get the rest of the Americans out and leave everyone else behind.
It was clear that the end was coming within hours. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, the ambassador and I went to the communications station in the embassy, and we wrote right there, and the communicator was typing out the message on the machine, sent our last message, which said, plan to close embassy at about 4:30 local time. Due to the necessity to destroy the communications gear, this will be the last message from Embassy Saigon. At about 4:30, a very peremptory order came in starting from the White House in Washington that the ambassador and remaining staff are to leave on the next helicopters.
I said, Ambassador, they're saying that you have to be on this helicopter, and he kind of looked at me dispassionately.
And the ambassador had these cool blue eyes, and he looked down at me, and I had a bayonet on the end of my rifle. And he says, oh, well, it's coming to that now. And I said, yes, sir, it is. And he was just very cool and very quiet. He wasn't ruffled at all, still in his business suit, still in his business attire.
He didn't put up any resistance, so I took him by the arm and, you know, helped him get across this parapet. He was carrying his dog, this little poodle, and so I took him by the arm and make sure he didn't blow away, you know, as we made our way onto this helicopter, and took him over and helped lift him up into it. And the other officers, you know, 3 or 4 of them followed, and that was it. I mean, you know, I told the pilot, "You've got the ambassador," and they left.